welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 8, Episode 3.
Or Episode 169 if you're counting.
Good to see everyone. Thank you as always to the Patreon contributors at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this show and all kinds of other stuff we do possible. And thank you for being here on a Saturday, and I know it was short notice, and I apologize for that. A lot of things that we did know and did not know were came up. That prevented us from being here on Thursday.
Well, yeah,
the thing that we did know that happened on Thursday was Power Rangers.
Right, which is, of course, the main reason why we're here, coming to you on a Saturday afternoon. Thank you for those of us who are joining right now, live over here on YouTube and Twitch. Right now, of course, as she just mentioned, we're going to talk just slightly about Power Rangers. Now, mind you, we did already put out 2 videos in regard to that, our thoughts on it. One is spoiler-free for anybody who hasn't gotten the chance to see it yet, and one is chock full of spoilers.
Right.
So in relation to that, because we watched this movie and we have feelings about it, we decided we'd share some of them with you by sharing in a treat here from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah,
not Krispy Kreme.
Not Krispy Kreme, which surely by now the internet is well aware of, that Krispy Kreme plays an embarrassingly large part in the Power Rangers film, which I will not further elaborate upon here. You can find that out in our other videos, but I'm
gonna eat one right now.
Yeah, I'm hungry, and I like the taste of chocolate-covered donuts.
Yeah, I love these donuts.
And
keep them covered though. We got a cat.
You know, I used to like Krispy Kreme, but now I think I suddenly have very strong feelings about Dunkin' Donuts. Very, very strong feelings.
See, I always liked Dunkin' Donuts, so this just solidified it for me. So yeah, it was a movie. If you like, you can go over to, they're on your channel, both of them, correct?
Yes, they are.
So you can go check those out right now. We'll have more to talk about as far as that's concerned in the follow-ups briefly. That wasn't the only thing we saw over the past week. We also saw Disney's live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, that's another thing that happened, yes.
That could have been better in some respects. Now, I have a lot of feelings towards that because as far as my acting goes, that was the last musical I did. So, it's got a very, warm place in my heart. That having been said, I didn't have problems with it in the places I thought I would have problems. It was actually with certain other things with the things I thought were going to be okay, namely Emma Watson singing. Yeah.
Very auto-tuned
in
places, and not very strong and confident in her singing capabilities. Nope. So that was very clearly doctored and worked around. I don't even know why they chose her, aside from her visually maybe looking like Belle. Like, they just said, she looks like her. That's it. That's good enough. And people know the name Emma Watson. That's clearly the only reason why they picked her. So, we saw movies.
It's a big month for movies. Of course, next week is Ghost in the Shell, which we'll talk about as well in the follow-ups here. It's a strange time for adaptations and reboots here in 2017. We're only 3 months in, we're going into April now. And there's certain things people come to expect. We have our expectations, I'm sure you guys do as well, going to see and support these movies. One thing we want to get across, though, and we say this in the Power Rangers video, is that if you have a differing opinion than us, that's fine.
Absolutely.
You're welcome to like the thing you like, just as much as you're allowed to not like it, just so long as either way you're not being a dick about it.
Exactly. Either way, so long as you're... I've seen people who feel very positively, strongly about Power Rangers be a dick to other people. It does go both ways, so let's just be excellent to each other as best as we can. Other than that, anything else been going on before we kind of talk about what our topics are this week?
I know today, someone, I forget how exactly they're doing it, they released the first episode of Kamen Sentai Go Rider, which is the spin-off there from Kamen Rider X8 featuring some returning actors. I know a lot of people have been looking for the Raw. There's a low-quality, not terrible version out. That's the one I watched this morning. It does look worth the wait, so as soon as that becomes available, I'll be able to talk about that in better detail, because right now there's no subs available. But it does look to be about what everyone expected, meaning you get more of your favorite characters if those characters meant something to you to begin with.
Right, exactly.
So yes, very much looking forward to that. A lot of other information there with X8, of course, which we'll get into, but I guess that's just more to say we should probably talk about the show.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll go ahead and let you guys know what our 3 main stories are going to be here a little bit later on in the show. For starters, our first major story is going to be in relation to that trailer that Netflix dropped a couple days back in regards to the North American Death Note adaptation film.
Yes.
So yeah, we're talking about adaptations quite a lot lately.
Yes. And then our second story for the evening is going to regard all this new information we got about the Godzilla anime film that's coming out later this year. We have a title for it now. You can translate it a few different ways, but you can call it Godzilla Kaiju Planet. And
or Monster Planet.
Monster Planet.
Kaiju Wakse.
Right. So we'll be talking to you guys about the plot details. We were just given this new framework that they haven't actually done before as far as a Godzilla adaptation has gone, and what that means for the franchise as a whole.
And finally, our third story kind of just dropped today.
Just this morning.
We saw a more full Justice League trailer drop on the internet today, and there's some words, some good and some bad, I think.
Yeah.
In both directions. Saw a poster earlier. It made me kind of.
There are several posters. Some are better than others.
There's like people levitating on these posters that shouldn't be like
Yeah.
they're not. Their feet. They're clearly in a standing
Aquaman
position.
does not have his feet on the ground.
His feet are not on the ground. That's kind of weird to me. But okay, that's cool. But surely you've got other stuff to talk about as far as follow-ups are concerned before we continue on with our main stories.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, please
now,
do.
Since, of course, we just mentioned that Justice League, or as we refer to it here on the show, Full-Blown Justice League, is going to be one of our lead stories for the evening. I will spare you in the follow-up section.
Oh, okay, but you're going to make me use it again later?
Yeah, once we get there, just for a second.
Of course you are.
Okay, but let's go ahead and talk about some other DC news here. So as far as the CW is concerned, so over on Supergirl, we're going to see later on this year the return of Kevin Smith, doing a second episode directing there for the series. I think it's super awesome, and that's not a pun. I actually think it's really great that they allow Kevin Smith to come in and direct these episodes.
Oh, sure.
He's already done one for The Flash, and now this is his second one on Supergirl. He has his tenure clearly cut there in comic books, in comic book lore, and his style brought to that over there on the CW. He said as much last year with the Flash cast that he just comes in and gives notes. They know what they're doing. That's why he loves working with them.
Of course.
So that'll be a later episode over of Supergirl this year.
Sounds fun.
Over on the Flash end of things, actually relating back to Supergirl. So earlier this week, we had the crossover episode Duet over on the Flash. For anybody who was a fan of these songs in that episode, they are now available over on iTunes, so you can get those few songs there from the cast members of the Flash and Supergirl, who are very talented musically.
I only saw so much clamoring on social media about it when it aired. It really wasn't nearly as large as I was expecting out of my timeline of people who are keeping up with it.
I think we follow different crowds as far as that goes, because the
Maybe,
ones I heard
that's
were
it.
very adamantly in favor of watching this episode, and then when they saw it, they weren't let down. I wasn't either. I was very happy to see all of these cast members who have been in numerous Broadway musicals and productions come together to do this project. I kind of wish they would do another one next year.
That would be fun if they would.
It really would be, all things considered. Okay, so moving on to Marvel news. We've got a lot of Marvel news here. So first and foremost, we've got one of 3 new posters that have just been released over the last couple of days for Spider-Man Homecoming, of course, coming out later this year, July 7th. Like I said, this is one of 3 posters that have been released. There's one of Peter, Spider-Man, lying down with the Avengers Tower off in the distance. One where he's
kind of whole New York skyline in the background.
Right, there's one where he's there clearly in front of that skyline on the Avengers Tower, and then here showing, the fastest way through to get to Brooklyn, or Queens, where he's from specifically. We're going to see more of this ramp up as we get closer to the release of the movie. Hopefully we'll get a second trailer telling us a little bit more, but this is good news right now.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about here. We also had, and I spared you of this one too, our first look at the hot toy for Spider-Man, or rather Peter's homemade Spider-Man costume.
I mean, Hot Toys isn't so bad so long as I can't see somebody's face, because if I can see somebody's face, then they terrify me.
This is why I decided not to show it, because they specifically blurred Tom Holland's face for it.
What do you mean they blur his face for it?
I mean, in the pictures that they released, they blurred the likeness.
Why? Why would
I don't
they
know.
do that?
But there was no point in showing it if you weren't going to get scared.
You want me to get scared.
Because you get so scared.
They're horrifying.
They're
absolutely
accurate.
Terrible. Yes, and good for them for making accurate toys, but they're horrifying.
I'm dropping chocolate everywhere.
Yeah, because you're not paying attention because you're doing your job, so good job.
Because I'm doing my job. Okay, so over on the Netflix end of things, so of course last weekend we saw the debut of Iron Fist over on Netflix. We can go ahead and talk a little bit now about the reception of Iron Fist. Not quite that great. Of course, Netflix would lead you to believe that it's very positively received. A lot of the outlets that I'm seeing, people on Twitter and of course, reviews here and there are calling it mediocre in compared to the other Netflix series that have come before it,
right,
who handled their the adaptation of their material excellently. Granted, as far as for my money is concerned, it wasn't nearly as thrilling as the other series. Because there's an excitement to watching Luke Cage overcome his obstacles there, trying to clear his name. You want to see how Jessica Jones handles her former attacker. You want to see Matt Murdock do better than what the legal system allows him to do. With Danny Rand, it's just a matter of he's kind of complaining for 13 episodes, and it's not really gripping.
And you're still 2 episodes away from the end, right?
Right, and I've read ahead a little bit, because I do that, just so I know what's going to happen. And the thing about it is, compared to the other fight sequences and acting, you do the best you can with the material you're given, so you can't blame them too much, but I kind of wish they had done a little better in the writing department. I think everybody does.
I mean, who wants to see a bad Netflix Marvel series,
Nobody
right?
did. Nobody. And as such, it makes me feel a little bad that I have to report that. I mean, not report my opinion, but still that's what it is. Okay, so let's move on to some more movie news. Okay, so specifically as it relates to Infinity War, so we've gotten confirmation from some on-set video that was taken that, like a lot of people figured, the Vision will be part of the story. There have been stunts filmed between him and some mocap actors, him dodging out of the way. Of course, the big theory here is that Thanos will want him as part of his plan, since he's got one of the Infinity Gems implanted in his forehead.
Right, of course, that only makes sense.
So it only makes sense that we'd see him there in filming. The other bit of that being over with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, tickets are available now.
Oh, cool.
So if you go over to Fandango right now, you can go ahead and see about getting those tickets. I know one of our favorite outlets, Alamo Draft House, hasn't made them available yet, but we're kind of holding out on that, and if you've ever been to one, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, they're going to go fast. I almost wish you had gotten tickets for another place while you could.
No, I want the Draft House.
All right.
Okay, so let's move on to Deadpool. So, interesting turn of events here. Michael Shannon, who of course played General Zod in Man of Steel, is considered now to be the front runner to play Cable here in the sequel to Deadpool. A lot of people saying they were tossing a lot of names around, but right now he's the front runner in front of people like, say, according to some of this art that was made available online, Brad Pitt.
Okay.
As Cable. Like, I don't see it.
No,
like, I see the art that makes it look like him, but I would have never considered him for Cable.
No, I don't think so either. But he's actually like in the running.
He from what these reports are saying, that Michael Shannon's in the running.
Okay, that's weird. All right.
I don't think he'd be a terrible Cable. He just wasn't my first choice.
Yeah.
But
I would need to see it.
I'll agree. He'd have to be better than Zod since he'd have more to work with there.
Exactly.
Okay, so in relation to a story we had last week, moving over to The Matrix. So interestingly enough, screenwriter Zach Penn went on record as saying it's not a reboot, it's not a remake.
Well, you then guys what the hell is it?
As he states here, people who know Animatrix and the comics understand, this is a direct quote, can't comment yet, except to say that the words reboot and remake were for an article. Let's stop responding to the inaccurate news. Do I want to see more stories set in the Matrix universe? Yes, because it's a brilliant idea that generates great stories.
Okay, so it's likely not going to touch characters and settings that we've already seen, but likely more stuff in the Matrix that we have not yet seen before.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, we're wondering now, us here at the show, because we were thinking about how they're going to handle that. That sounds more like it's just going to be an installment, like we theorized last week, in the universe somewhere that fits around it. Maybe a prequel showing how the robots took over, more cinematically.
I think that would be really, really fun, actually.
I would rather watch that.
Yeah, an extension, a better explanation of that one particular episode within the Animatrix.
Yes. So we've got that to conjecture with now. Okay, so moving on to the Han Solo solo movie there in the Star Wars universe. So some new information has come out. Two very important things. We'll start with Woody Harrelson's character, who they've now named as being Beckett. And they're saying he's based off a character there in the expanded universe.
Yeah, Beckett sounds familiar to me.
They're saying he had a different name up until recently when Woody Harrelson gave an interview and said, most I can say is my character's name is Beckett. Of course, that could still be a cover for right now. We don't know. Filming is still going on, and we're learning about that. The bigger thing to learn about is the fact that they're describing now that part of the movie will explain how Han Solo got his name.
So they're saying that Han Solo's not like his birth name.
That's what they're leaning towards, is that he gave himself the name Han Solo, or he was dubbed Han Solo, which is kind of a very, like, Flynn Rider tangled sort of thing.
I don't know how I feel about that, actually.
Yeah, I don't think I'm down with that.
Yeah, this might be the first time where I'm starting to think, I might, because I was actually really on board with a Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
And now I'm a little concerned, admittedly. Up until this moment, up until you said that right now, I was not concerned.
This is what I'm having to learn. I have to tell you some things before we start filming, and then there's other things I have to wait to tell you on camera.
Okay.
This is one of those things.
Okay.
So yes, we've got that news to wonder about later on down the road for Han Solo. Okay, so moving over to some Ghost in the Shell news, two bits of information there. So original anime movie director Mamoru Oshii has gone on record as saying this rendition, this movie that's coming out next week, will be the most beautiful piece of Ghost in the Shell added to the overall canon.
Well,
singing its praises.
Well, beautiful, I'm sure it will be visually stunning. I have no doubt
that's exactly how I
took
took
that. Visually
that.
Stunning film. That has never once been a concern for me in this film. The concern then is the storytelling, the presentation, the accuracy to source material, what it does with the source material. That's where my concerns lie. It's kind of like every time I've ever said, people are singing praises of how beautiful the next Final Fantasy game looks. Yeah, well, no crap. Like, that's, like, the very thing that Square is known for.
Is their visuals.
And so how does the story stack up? That's precisely what I feel about Ghost in the Shell right now.
Right. Now, the other bit of information, which is tied a little bit more to the standalone complex end of things, is we had reported on them before, but now we've actually seen them in action. These rather expensive but incredibly cute Tachikomas that you can have. They're 1/8 scale. So they're about yay big. They're about the size of a monster truck.
They look to be controlled via an app on your phone.
Yes.
A phone app.
They do connect to the internet. You can correspond with them. You can talk to them.
That's pretty
cool.
They'll
talk back to you. They have image sensors, so if you show it, as they show here in this video on YouTube, hey, Tachikoma, what is this? And the Tachikoma will tell you in one of the actresses' voices, oh, that's an apple. And, they'll respond back if you ask, hey, Tachikoma, what's the weather like? Oh, it's going to be rainy out. They'll tell you those things. Very much like Alexa there from Amazon Prime. But it's a Tachikoma, and I would absolutely spend the money on it if it wasn't like $1,500 American.
That is really ridiculous that it is that much.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, but if I had it, I would pay it. Because I love the Tachikomas to death. If you've seen the season, they're specifically Standalone Complex or Second Gig. No, they cannot go invisible. We haven't gotten that far yet. That's probably the deluxe model that'll come out later.
Yeah, like maybe a decade
Maybe a decade later. We're working on that. So let's go ahead and move over to a little bit of Power Rangers reboot news. Now, of course, the movie is out in theaters now. Some interesting things to report there.
Donuts.
Yeah, donuts. Yeah, you had to pick up a donut right when we got to this.
This is my last donut, by the way.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about, which we didn't share a picture of because we know some people want to hold on and not be shown spoilers yet, even though it's out officially, is that the official Instagram account of the Power Rangers movie has revealed what the green helmet looks like there for the show. If you want to take a look at that, head over to the official Power Rangers Twitter or Instagram, and you can check that out right now.
It's on their Facebook account, too.
It's on their Facebook account as well. The other interesting thing was this new graphic novel that's coming out next week on Tuesday that ties directly into the movie called Power Rangers... Power Rangers Aftershock, which is going to take place directly after the events of the film and carry on with the story from there while we wait to see what we're going to hear from the franchise itself. That other bit of news, of course, coming from Saban himself, saying they've got 6 more movies planned out for this franchise.
They're hoping for
They're
it,
hoping
at least.
for
Yeah.
it. Now, of course, we haven't heard what the box office receipts are just yet. and we can't say one way or another whether or not it's doing well. Just that we do hear a lot of people being excited to go see it to begin with. Beyond that, we'll have to see what the next week tells.
Yay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to some other tokusatsu news. Over with, again, some more Power Rangers news. Specifically, Power Rangers Dino Charge Brave, which is this Korean adaptation of the show.
It's a continuation, even.
Yes, specifically here, it's being promoted as the legitimate sequel to Zyuden Sentai Kyoryuger, which is, of course, the Japanese adaptation that we brought over here with Saban to create Dino Charge. We do now have a listing for the Japanese actors. What they're going to do is it's going to debut in Korea first, in South Korea, and then on April 14th, it will be dubbed. The dubbed version in Japanese will debut over there with actors that some people may know.
It's a pretty quick turnaround, all things
Very
considered.
quick.
Yeah.
The toys are available already. Some people online have already reviewed them.
A bunch of clothes, too.
Available now.
Bandai Premium.
I think what's funny here is for what they're calling it's Brave and then the rest of the name. So Brave Kyoryu Black is being voiced by Yamato Kinjo, who you might remember from the original Kyoryuger as Kyoryu Blue.
That's a little awkward, but okay.
It's a little awkward.
It's awkward and cool at the same time.
Now, what I think is cool to show the commonality between them is specifically for the show. Haruka Tomatsu, Ai Orikasa, and Toshiyuki Morikawa will be reprising their roles, specifically as Candelira, Luckiero, and Torin specifically.
So the suited mascot characters of that series. Yeah.
Yes, they are the same characters.
That's good.
So that shows, no, this is the same universe. These are those characters.
Right.
So very interesting to see that interplay between all the different places where Power Rangers and Super Sentai are available: Japan, South Korea, and America.
My next big question would be, if Saban were smart enough, would they ever think about revisiting Dino Charge
to tell this story,
and continuing to tell this story, and get new American actors to wear those nice long jackets? And
if they were willing to do that, then yeah, people would want to see that, because the Power Rangers Dino Charge cast was very well liked, and very well received. So I think it's an option, but that's
I think it would be smart, but sometimes I don't think Saban does the smart thing. I think what he does is the cheap thing, saying, why would I actually spend money when I could spend the least amount of money possible and still make money? That's exactly what he does. So.
Okay, moving on to some other Tokusatsu news, we have this photo to show you guys from a recent magazine scan showing a full body picture of this upgraded form for Kamen Rider Amazon Omega, specifically referred to as Kamen Rider Amazon New Omega. This, of course, being debuted in Season 2 of Kamen Rider Amazons, coming out later next month over on Amazon Prime. I can't say that I'm a big fan of the costume, what they've done with it here.
Granted, I'm not a big fan of Kamen Rider Amazons to begin with.
Well, see, I really like the Alpha suit because it looks pretty much like regular Amazon, just red. The Omega suit left me feeling like they could have done more with it.
I agree.
Or maybe even should have done less in some places. And this looks way too busy for a design I already didn't care for. But, you know, that's a thing we're going to see here. Again, all of the Amazon riders, both from Season 1 and Season 2, are going to be shown in this Cho Superhero Tyson movie that just aired starting yesterday over in Japan, over in theaters over there. So we'll get more information on their role in that movie later on as that becomes available.
Cool.
And then the last thing we have to share with you guys is this information for this new event for Kamen Rider Exade. Of course, Exade doing very well in the ratings right now. They just announced this new event for Exade, airing on 2 consecutive nights there in Tokyo, May 3rd and May 4th at the Grand Prince Hotel Shin Takanawa there in Tokyo. They're going to have a Bugster night and a Kamen Rider night. So there's certain characters that will be there on one night and won't be there on the other night.
These are like interviews and stuff, right?
Interviews and sometimes a little bit of suit action for maybe like 5-10 minutes just to get the audience involved. But they've started doing these more and more over the last couple of years to get fans more involved, because they realize the fans do really like the shows, want to respond to the shows, want to show their appreciation for the actors. So that's absolutely something that they're doing here. For both nights, Poppy People Papo's actress, Ruka Matsuda, will be there, except one night she'll be Poppy People Papo, and the other night she'll be her nurse form of Asuna.
Oh, isn't that convenient for her?
Yes, and
then
then
they have to promote the beautiful idol star, like, because that's the kind of actress she is anyway to begin with.
And then specifically for Bugster Night, that night will feature Graphite only. He won't be on the other night. And then on the Rider Night, that night we'll have Saiba Nico's actress. That would be the night I wouldn't attend. So yes, that information is available there. If you're in the Tokyo area and have the ability to do so, tell me how it is, please. I would love to be there.
Well, they're gonna film it, right?
They are gonna film it, and then we'll probably see it that way. But I don't want to wait.
You'll be fine. You'll live. I promise.
All right, fine.
Okay.
And yes, that's all our follow-ups of the evening. Let's get into our first story with Death Note.
Yeah, so we're looking at, we got in pretty much at the beginning of this trailer, actually, as it's looping. So, yay, we've got yet another Death Note adaptation.
Well, this is the first Death Note adaptation. This is worth noting that we're getting that actually came through. Mm-hmm. Because they've been talking about doing a Death Note adaptation for several years now.
Well, when I say adaptation, realize every one of the previous Japanese films is an adaptation of the manga.
Yes, this is true.
And, of the anime. The anime is an adaptation of the manga. The movies are an adaptation of the manga. That TV series is an adaptation of the manga. So this is yet another adaptation. It's just that this one happens to be going from Japan to North America.
Yes. Now, of course, we see here the adaptation of the base plot. We have a character who is also named Light. In this version, Light Turner, who finds a copy of this mystical notebook called a Death Note. The rule still being the same. The person whose name is written in this note shall die. And from there, he becomes this kind of self-righteous serial killer that people are referring to as Kira, and it's up to a mysterious figure known as L to shut him down before he goes too far with it.
Do you think they're gonna call him Kira, or they're just gonna call him Killer?
No, they called him Kira because if you look here in the background, you can see somebody has spray painted that on the wall.
Were you saying that L was still a Japanese actor?
No, L actually, and you see him right here, L actually is an African-American actor.
Okay, who was the Asian actor that you were
That
saying?
would be his butler, Watari.
Okay, because the only way that the idea of Kira makes sense is
a Japanese pronunciation.
Yeah, that's the only reason that would make sense. So I have to assume that maybe somebody goes on the internet and, like, picks up this word or something. That's the only way that calling him Kira makes any sort of sense, because otherwise it means nothing. It really means nothing.
Now, here's the thing, and I know some people are bringing it up here in the chat, and we wanted to talk about it here for just a second, which you brought up as well. There have been other adaptations, so I know a lot of people are very upset over a couple of things with whitewashing. Now, I get how that's a problem with something like, say, Ghost in the Shell, where people were hoping for an Asian actress to play the lead of Motoko.
To play the lead of Motoko is clearly a Japanese... That's a Japanese name.
Right.
Motoko Kusanagi is a Japanese name, so they hoped for a Japanese... I get that. I absolutely get it. To an extent... now, you can argue this one of two ways, and I am actually not going to take either side. One way is that, well, the Japanese don't care. The Japanese think, oh, this is cool, they're adapting our stuff, it doesn't matter to us. Now, they're a pretty much homogenous society, and they don't have any choice but to cast all Japanese actors in their stuff, really, because they have like a 2% not Japanese population. However, there are Asian Americans who just want to be represented. So if you were to cast an Asian American in the role, you know, maybe that would have sufficed. Maybe he still would have been an American. He just would not have been a white person. But so I kind of get it in arguing in both directions.
What I don't get are the people that saying, oh, it should have been, you know, an all-Asian cast, as if one didn't already exist several times.
Yeah, multiples of that already exist.
Because, again, to clarify here, there's already been a series of movies, 4 movies now with this new one.
Some of which were released over here, even theatrically.
Yes. Those were shown over here, Death Note, the first one, and then Death Note, the last name. And then L Changed the World, I don't believe was released over here, or maybe it was briefly. And then this most recent one hasn't come out over here yet. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there was the Death Note series from last year, which we reported on. So it's been done several times. Mm-hmm. So if you're wanting a more Asian-centric cast, it exists, and you can go look it up.
Yeah.
It's there.
That series that TV series is kind of weird. It goes in a weird direction.
Yeah.
But that's another adaptation that also exists. That drama that came out of Japan.
Right.
So, man, just Death Note has been done to death, really, at this point.
Some people would argue that, yes.
So, my only concern now, so far, I see Death Note.
I see Death Note as well. I don't know what the whole thing with the Ferris wheel is, but, whatever.
I feel like whoever's... that Misa, right?
Well, he or she's... if I'm understanding correctly, her name's been changed to Mia.
Okay, well, close enough, I suppose. It's a very kind of a for kids sort of approach to renaming.
It could be worse.
But yeah, it could be worse. Now she's a cheerleader and she's smoking. I don't really know how that's going to change or alter her role.
I don't know if that was...
story.
Honestly, I don't know what the actress looks like, so I don't know if that was her specifically.
You know what? You're right. You're right. I don't know whether or not... I see other people have been saying online that that's the actress, so I did not go and study specifically that actress's name and look up her photo, so I confess my ignorance there. But nobody has a problem with Willem Dafoe.
Oh, absolutely
Nobody
not.
has a problem
That's the
with him.
one thing everybody seems to agree on, is that Willem Dafoe was perfectly cast as the voice of Ryuk here, the Death God.
But nobody wants to see him just voicing. They just want to see him, like, in makeup.
Yeah, and admittedly, I'm having a hard time determining what exactly they've done here, because admittedly, we get one shot of him. One shot of Ryuk, and it's not even a clear shot.
It's
and
like behind my head when it pops up.
And it looks to be, for my money, some sort of a CG live-action hybrid, which I would be okay with. I'm sure
somebody was mo-capped for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Here he is right here. You see his glowing red eyes, and that's about all we get of him.
I'm pretty convinced that Ryuk is actually going to look relatively accurate.
All things considered, right.
If I had to make an assumption, if anything was going to be held over that looks the same, it's going to be Ryuk. Now, also realize when he's reading the English line in the Death Note, whoever finds this note or writes in this note, whatever, realize the word note. It's a little English because the line is in pretty good English. However, the word note, noto, is short for the word notebook. And we as native English speakers do not say just note for notebook.
Right, so that's a holdover.
So it is a holdover, and they did not, fix the English. So maybe there's still held over things that keep it accurate. Again, the Kira thing is, some people might get excited, like, oh, Kira, they're at least keeping that name, but at the same time, me as someone who thinks that things should be accurately adapted, again, the word Kira doesn't make native English speaker sense.
No, I would have maybe understood if they called him, the Justice Killer or something like that, because that's what he's doing. But if they find a way to rationally explain it, then fine.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, of course, being L now. Now, I didn't have it here, but over on Anime News Network, they did post a picture of... I was about to call him Kira, of Light and L in the same room together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, he is completely covered up, as you see right there. He's got a mask on and a hoodie. But in this shot between L and Light, L is still sitting in a chair like he does natively in the show, meaning he's all up on the chair on his toes and not actually sitting down. So he still might have those weird mannerisms that made the character known for what he was there in the original.
So yeah, otherwise, aside from people's concerns about it being whitewashing and we have not yet seen fully what Ryuk looks like, this looks like Death Note to me. Another one.
Right.
Great, guys, we've got more Death Note. And that's my only complaint is, are we done with Death Note now?
Right, exactly.
It keeps being done
I'll say this
again.
much, I'm glad that to start with, I personally have very few complaints because they haven't given me anything to complain much about yet.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time to get concerned.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they've really only given us so many shots. The shots they gave us, to me, look like Death Note, but they've got plenty of time to screw that up.
Right.
I promise. Either screw it up or to prove that this will be competent.
And this goes back to the same thing with Power Rangers. If you end up not liking this version, there are several other versions that exist that you can still enjoy.
Oh yeah, please don't be those people that go out there and say X, Y, or Z raped my childhood. No, your childhood still exists. It's okay, I promise. Just go back and wash it out with the thing that made you happy in the first place. I promise you, they didn't take every copy of Death Note and destroy it.
Yeah.
It still exists.
Yes. If you get the chance, watch those original 2 movies. They're very well done.
You remember we were talking to another friend who said that maybe a better idea if you were going to adapt this for North America might have been the idea of those stories where they suggested that there are other Death Notes in other parts of the world. There are 5 other Death Notes, yes. Yeah, and that this could have been just another one of them. That might have been an interesting direction to go in.
Right, if we had gone with a different holder of the note, a different Shinigami or Death God, then yeah, that would have been an interesting story to take that would have still fit in the framework of everything else.
That might have pissed people off less, but I'm not really sure, because I think a whole bunch of people would be like, but this isn't anything like the original at all anymore. So, it's hard to say. Maybe we could get there if we start with this one first. Yes. And then do another... See, that's another concern that other people have had, too, is that, this is only a movie. Can it really all be done in a movie, or does it need to be a Netflix original series? Because you could get full character development throughout the course of the series.
Same argument there for Japan. They had a movie series, 2 movies really, and then some spin-offs, and then they decided, well, we can revisit this as a longer series. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there can be an argument made for that, but if nobody supports the original, then they won't ever get there.
Exactly, yes.
So we'll have to see how that goes. Of course, we'll be waiting for another trailer to show more of Ryuk, more of L, more of what the plot actually is in relation to the original story.
And this comes out in August?
From what I understand, yes. This comes out August 25th.
Okay, cool. So we've still got several months to either get excited or get afraid.
Yes.
Of where this is going. We've got time,
One
guys.
thing's for sure, we're all afraid of Willem Dafoe.
And happily
afraid of Willem Dafoe.
Yes. I'm done with this one.
Yeah, we're good here.
This one? Okay, then let's talk about Godzilla. The very first animated Godzilla film.
Yes.
Within the franchise's history. We've had animated stuff before. We've had TV series before.
Yeah, we've got plenty of those.
Our TV series, mind you. I don't think Japan has done animated TV series.
Right.
We did. They have never done an animated film before, and this is being directed by, Udo Bucci. I keep getting his vowels incorrect and flip-flopped. I wanted to make sure I got it.
Yeah, because I have a bad habit
Udo Bucci.
Yes. I have a bad habit of saying his name wrong, too. But, of course, we have the information on this new anime film, which in Japanese is titled Godzilla Kaiju Wakusei, which can be translated as either Godzilla Kaiju Planet, or if you want to fully translate it, Godzilla Monster Planet. Mm-hmm. So this story is very different from any Godzilla story that we've seen up until now.
Right.
Because most of the Godzilla stories take place in the modern day. There's some allusions to things that happened in the past, or some stuff that happened in the future that time travels to affect what's going on right now.
Well, I think it's interesting, this time travel idea. First, let me, really briefly describe this synopsis. So, in the late 20th century, we figured out that kaiju are a thing, and that Godzilla is a thing. So, we've got a main character here, whose name is Haruo, I believe.
Yes.
So his parents were killed by Godzilla, and so he's like, screw that, we're gonna figure out a place to go where people can inhabit this place that is not infested by monsters. So he is on a crew for a spaceship headed to a planet called Tau Cetus A. This is really bizarre.
Well, let's go ahead and be more specific about this. So what they're saying here is in the timeline of this anime film, what happens is humanity is fighting against the kaiju that have shown up around the planet for about half a century. Mm-hmm. Finally, they decide, we're not going to win. We need to get the hell out of here. So they have a computer decide, okay, you, and you get on the ship, we're out of here. So they leave Earth for quite some time.
Well, it was a 20-year travel,
right.
which sounds like quite some time. So I'm going to assume that they're going to be in some sort of a sleep stasis period.
Right.
So they get to this planet, and then they get there, and it turns out, oh crap, this isn't inhabitable at all. And we're going to die here, and we are not going to save humanity here. We need to go the hell home. But as it turns out, by the time they get back, 20,000 years have passed. I have to assume that's due to, theory of relativity.
Right,
based
exactly.
on because I don't think it's like
the movie Interstellar.
I don't think it's like time travel. It's probably you went so fast past light speed that time changed.
Right.
Based on the theory of relativity. This is not spoilers. So this is the direct official synopsis. So I have to assume that most of what I'm saying right now takes place in the early portion of this film.
Right. So what they describe is since they realize that they've been gone instead of 20 years, 20,000 years, the planet has been taken back by plant life and by the kaiju. So now Godzilla is very much the king of the planet, and Haruo and his crew have to figure out how are we going to take back the planet, and that's the crux of the movie. So as far as that goes, letting the whole planet go to crap, that's never been done before.
Yeah. Granted, 20,000 years
is a lot of time.
Span, it has never been done before either. So I'm very interested because you see this poster was part of what was released also along with this synopsis for the film. Very futuristic looking.
Yes.
And far more future. Granted, we've had Mecha Godzilla before. He's about as futuristic as it friggin' gets within the franchise up until this point. And now look at it. Granted, half a century has passed since Godzilla first showed up in this universe. Okay.
Right.
And I think it's interesting that technology has gone this far within that span of time, because we are actually nowhere near this. We're nowhere near this.
And the interesting thing about this is that at the event where this was all debuted, they also debuted actual physical props. Even though this is an animated movie, actual physical props of the guns and these little mechs that they'll be using in the movie, which is nice that they decided to do that and give people a hands-on of, because they let people hold these weapons okay, this is what they'll be using, this is what they're going to use to try and fight these kaiju and fight Godzilla. The thing about it, though, that I think is interesting is looking at it that you have to realize, just from what they've revealed to us, that says a lot about humanity's role as it relates to Godzilla, because in most adaptations, that's a big part of it, is how much are you focused on the monsters, how much are you focused on the humans. Here, I'm realizing if you decided the kaiju have become a world-threatening problem, and you've got some technology, you had a choice. You could either throw all of that towards defeating them, or all of that towards running, and in this particular movie, they decided to run.
Yes.
So they didn't try to fight initially. They decided to get the hell out of there. Like, we don't need shields, we don't need a wall, we just need to leave. I don't want any part of this, I'm out.
I have to assume that they started by attempting to fight, and clearly fighting was not working, and it was, you just had to make that decision. Alright, we tried, we gave it our all, now we have to do a strategic retreat.
Tactical retreat.
Tactical retreat.
And the thing about it is, I can't say that I would blame them. If they say they fought for 50 years, then you're right. Yeah, they gave it the old college try and decided, yeah, 50 years is long enough, we should go. We're good. Bye, Felicia. And then, they realized, oh, we screwed up, we went too far, we gotta go back.
I wonder then what their plan was, if they were going to come back to Earth and pick up more people if they got there and they were like, yes, we need to live here, it's time for us to start colonizing, and then you have the exact same problem they end up with in the movie anyway, where 20,000 years pass, and all those people you tried to save are dead, so there was no saving those people.
No, there wasn't, and the thing about it is, at this point, you realize you made a couple of wrong decisions, and the only thing you can do at this point to try and save face, which is a very Japanese thing to do, is like, well, we already screwed up the first time and we ran. Then the place we ran couldn't house us, and now we're back here, we kind of have to kill him.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Because otherwise we die.
Yeah.
We've got no other place to go. There's no other hospitable place or habitable place for us to exist. It's got to be here or no place else.
Really, in that respect, because you're leaving thinking you're doing one thing, and then you end up back on Earth several thousand years later, it's a very Planet of the Apes approach to Godzilla.
At the same time, man, doesn't that make you feel like a jackass? Like, man, maybe if we had just stayed here and tried to put up a fight in the first place, maybe this would have never happened, and maybe all these people didn't have to die.
Like, we could have figured something out, maybe.
So I would love to see how they approach that thought process, and knowing Udo Bucci. I keep switching it with Udo Bocci.
Yeah, right.
Knowing Udo Bucci, he will address like the internal turmoil of some characters' real crushing guilt somewhere.
Well, yeah, at a certain point, somebody's got to have survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
When they realize that no matter what, you were screwed. Mm-hmm. That there was no right decision to make.
Yeah.
And as such, yeah, that makes for good conflict as far as the humans are concerned. Now, admittedly, there's a reason I say that, because up until this point, we actually don't know what version of Godzilla they're going with.
That's true.
Whether or not
we still have not seen art of this Godzilla.
Exactly. We don't know if they're going with the legendary version, the Shin Godzilla version, or some original version that they're designing just for this movie specifically, which of course a lot of people are waiting to see, because all we have is the name Godzilla, and we have some tech, and we have some weapons, no sign of the big guy yet.
Right.
So that's something we
don't see any monsters, in fact, right?
No,
Not even in the old art that was given us a couple months ago.
It was just like some scenic backgrounds and a little bit of like the side of a ship, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're my interest is piqued, admittedly, because I think this is a very interesting take, but I still want to see what the big guy looks like. Like, he's still the draw. That's the name you're using to get everybody in.
Yeah, and in fact, Hideaki Anno, who directed the last Godzilla film that just came out, Shin Godzilla, is asking people to please be excited for this film.
Yes.
As he goes and returns to Evangelion. Hopefully. That's what he says anyway. So we'll see if he's telling the truth. But he seems really excited for this project as well. So if other people who've worked on Godzilla projects are excited, then I think we have good reason to also be excited.
Yes, so of course we will be getting this as well as everybody else in November from Netflix. So everybody's going to get a chance to see this.
I'm excited for that,
yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that.
Great. I am moving on.
To full-blown Justice League. Here we go.
I need to make sure it's actually playing. I mean, it says it is, but I'll just,
there it goes.
Confirm that it's actually playing.
So full-blown Justice League. Here we go.
Right.
So thankfully enough, Thursday morning, the internet let us know that today they would reveal the first actual trailer for Warner Brothers and DC Comics film Justice League, which, as I've said, we refer to as full-blown Justice League here on the show. So we have a little bit more of the fleshed-out story. Full-blown Justice League, there you go. A lot of it harkens back to what we were already told. Mm-hmm. Bruce and Diana, Batman and Wonder Woman, are trying to get together a team of super-powered people to take on this threat that is incoming. Now, as far as the marketing has gone for the last 3 days, with this trailer included, we have 100% less Superman than we thought we would get. The most we get is a shot of Lois Lane somewhere towards the end of this trailer, but otherwise, he's still dead, as far as we know.
It's a little concerning. I have to just say, and I know this isn't like plot relevant or anything, the CG sucks. It sucks so much. I do not understand DC. This has been the same CG problem that I have had since Man of Steel. Man of Steel and Batman v Superman have both had the same CG problems as far as human movement is concerned. Mm-hmm. And they don't look mo-capped. They look like someone has taken them into a render farm and moved their arms and their limbs.
Like Gary's mod?
I don't know about not Gary's mod bad, but they've manually moved their bones rather than having somebody mo-capped to make this...
Like that complaint you had about certain scenes in The Spirits Within.
Yeah, either you've got a person in a mocap suit or you've got somebody directly pulling an arm up and posing it, and that doesn't look realistic. And all of these action shots look just like that because DC's CG, it looks like that for some reason. I hate it every single time I look at it.
Now, the thing about it is, looking at it, there's certain things I want to like.
Yeah.
Like here at the end where we have Commissioner Gordon saying a very leading line of, "It's good to see you playing with others again." And, Batman making this is only temporary. Alluding to the rest of the Bat family. Alluding to a Robin or a Batgirl having been there possibly.
Well, we already know that there was a Robin.
At least a Robin. Mm-hmm. Hopefully two, based off the timeline. So there's stuff like that makes me want to believe that this might be okay. As far as I can tell, Jason Momoa's take on Aquaman here, and they refer to him as such here, the Aquaman, looks like he'll be fun enough, kind of odd way of being relaxed instead of being the very tense version of him that we saw before.
Yeah, he's got a really tense appearance, and yet he's a very relaxed kind of personality dude in this trailer.
We see Cyborg there, more of the CG, which I agree with because they decided to not make him look
so bad. Oh my god!
Like if they decided to beef up just joints specifically, that's where it doesn't line up. I mean, the headpiece looks great.
Like it's the same problem I have, like a human mouth kind of moving on this. Oh my god! It looks so bad on that body. On that body, it looks terrible.
And, he has this weird face covering when he's flying, which makes him look more like Deadshot than Deadshot did in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So, Warner Brothers, DC, what are you doing? The person I have the least problem with in the whole trailer is specifically Wonder Woman and Flash. Because, for my money, it's a different take on the effect, but I don't have a problem with how they're portraying Flash's powers here. Mm-hmm. It looks like... that looks like the Speed Force.
He seems the most accurate and tolerable out of all of them, really. Maybe Wonder Woman's gonna be okay.
Yeah, of course, fingers crossed.
We need to see her film first, I think.
I think it's interesting that Batman decided to have his own Zord here.
His own Zord.
We'll see it probably earlier in the film than some other things, but I won't say any more about that. Uh-huh. That having been said, we do see an attempt at a lighter tone here,
despite the dark colors of the whole film.
Dark colors but jokes, that's a little weird.
Uh-huh.
And we know Snyder had pulled that off before, specifically with Watchmen, but that was Watchmen. I think he forgets that he's not making Watchmen anymore, because when you see Bruce there in the Batmobile shooting at the parademons, he looks like Night Owl.
Well, is it Snyder doing this?
Yes.
Too? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yes.
So the fact that, Bruce looks like Night Owl, nobody missed that. Like, Snyder, knock it off.
Granted, Watchmen was originally created to be a really dark Justice League story, and then they said, oh, we can't make our Justice League heroes do these horrible things. You need to make an entirely new set of characters. Okay.
And then Alan Moore did that. But here, with everything we're seeing, it just feels like there's something missing from it. As far as spectacle goes, yeah, it seems like you guys will deliver on spectacle. There does seem to be some assistance, I guess is how I'll phrase it, from the Amazonians and possibly even the Atlanteans in fighting off the parademon threat. We see right there Cyborg's father with the parademon right behind him.
Right.
Which is fine, we still haven't addressed this whole thing of how Bruce was able to dream about parademons, having not known what they were before.
Yeah.
That's still gonna bug me.
It's a sign, Josh.
A sign of what?
Things to come.
That suck.
Thank you.
So as far as that goes, there's still a lot of things that they have to address all around, but admittedly, I didn't think I was gonna say this, but the fact that I don't see Superman in anything tells me... It doesn't make me feel right. It tells me that potentially they're saving how they're going to do that. Maybe you guys might actually save the end of your movie this time.
Yeah.
But then again, by that same token, that might suck on the idea that you're only going to get Superman for maybe the last 10 minutes of the movie.
You're building the Justice League not based on Superman at all, and that is
because you wrote yourself into a corner.
So sad, because that's not... He's like a requirement in the Justice League.
Yeah.
He's cornerstone requirement to the Justice League. So horrifying that he is not there. Granted, then I would just be complaining about more Superman bad CG, maybe. I'm probably eventually going to complain about that anyway.
Because we know he's in it. But they're not showing that anymore.
Yeah, he's not on posters, he's not in this trailer.
See, that's the thing about it. We had that shot several months ago that showed all 6 of them together. Now, mind you, they screwed up by originally saying Unite the 7, but then they realized they weren't going to be able to get Green Lantern in there. So then it was just a picture of 6 of them, which was still fine. It's still a functional Justice League. And now, since Thursday till now, we have only seen those 5 characters. Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman. And that's it. And it feels short.
Yeah.
Because... for as muted as the color is, we need some more color in there, and nobody's providing it. Visually speaking, humor-wise, yeah, we see them trying with, so what's your superpower again? I'm rich. And I get it.
Haha, we all joke about that.
We all joke about that, that's fine. But by that same token, I really do hope that the reshoots and the rewrites for this and the extended amount of time they've taken on this does pay off, because I want to believe that they can eventually get it right.
I would like to. That'd be nice if they actually did. But then, I'm concerned about the way the Batman solo movie is going too.
Right, because
and I know that's a completely different movie, but they're tying together. They have to talk to each other, which concerns me about the whole overarching trajectory of this franchise.
Yeah, and the reason for that tie-in being Ben Affleck put that footage out there that, we're going to see some Deathstroke in this movie, and he's going to be the villain in mine. So yeah, there's some bleed over there. They have to have that synergy between the two, like, hey, I'm doing this, you want to piggyback off that for your thing. Yeah, sure, okay, I can run with that. You need that in order to make something successful, because it's something we were talking about something completely unrelated, specifically with Kamen Rider. If the writing department isn't talking to the toy department, when you come together and the two things don't mesh because you didn't talk, you end up with the gimmick of Kamen Rider Gaim, where the two don't mesh at all. I want Fruit Samurai and dancing. I have to make it work, but somehow...
and you decided to go forward with both of them rather than sacrificing one of them. So.
Yeah, but in that specific case, it took him a while, but Urabuchi made it work. But here, I'm less convinced that they can.
Yeah.
Based off their track record thus far. And the other thing that's writing on that too, Aquaman.
Yeah.
He's got his solo movie, and we see Amber Heard there as Mira for a second. Great. We saw her in suit before, and now we've got a little bit of footage. Great, shows me that you're working on that. Cool. Awesome. Flash is writing on that. We see a shot of his father there in prison, wrongfully imprisoned for his mom's murder. Great, we see some tie into that. Awesome. That's setting up for other movies. But the thing about it is, at the same time that you're trying to set up these other movies, you're still having to save the movie that you made.
Exactly.
And if you can't do that, the other ones will suffer. And they're painfully aware of this. And they can only do so much up to a certain point.
I can't help but feel like there's some carryover with some of the exact same mistakes they made for Batman v Superman, where they knew they made a ton of mistakes, but all they could do is hopefully change the marketing to mask how badly things were screwing up and how badly it was going internally. And that's what this has felt like the entire production ride of Justice League, where they've had to lower the cast number, and then lower the cast number again, and then re-edit, and then redo what posters make you think you're gonna watch, and it morphed over and over and over again.
Same thing with Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and Suicide Squad too,
because
where they're having to save it at the last minute.
Because the thing about it is, you can rewrap a box of Pop-Tarts all you want. When I open it, the Pop-Tarts are gonna be there. Like, you can't lie to me once I actually open the product. Once you get me into the theater, I have to report on the movie you showed me. And the thing is, like I've said time and time again, I will not tell you guys about a movie I didn't see. They put something on the screen, I saw it, I will tell you what I saw, and what that made me feel, and whether or not I think anybody else should spend money on it.
Right.
So, as such, marketing isn't hardly going to save crap. That's the thing they've got to realize. If you screwed up, you screwed up. And hopefully you can fix, these other movies down the road that haven't quite started production yet, like Flash, like The Batman. But up to a certain point, you gotta realize where your core audience is at, in addition to where your money-making audience is gonna be. Because, you'll get opening weekend numbers, but even then, Batman vs. Superman was a clear-cut case of that. The numbers didn't add up to the critical downplay of, no, this really sucks. And they realized they didn't hit that billion mark like the Avengers did. Not nearly in the same way that they were hoping for.
Right.
Why? Because bad press got to them.
Yes.
Because they were reporting on what they saw. So, as such, you can show me all of this stuff that looks aesthetically cool. Like, they're fighting parademons. Flash is running really fast and it looks kind of cool. Wonder Woman looks like she's going to be really strong. But if the story sucks, people are going to tell other people.
Yeah, because I see things that look like the Justice League in here. I'm not going to lie. There's parts that look like, these are Justice League characters doing Justice League things that they're supposed to be doing. So I really hope that the story thread holds together just fine. Because if not, we're going to tell you otherwise, just like we did with Batman v Superman.
And the last thing I'll say in relation to that, specifically relating to Superman, if you guys don't figure out a way to show him at all in your promo, then you screwed up.
Yes.
And much the same, if you in the actual movie, you didn't figure out a way to put him in there to where the audience isn't asking, if he's in there so little, then why'd you put him in there at all?
Yes.
Why'd you bring him back at all? Then you messed up.
Yeah.
And so, I know you guys over there, you're probably not listening to this, you guys know that that's where you screwed up if that's what you did. Hopefully I'm wrong. Odds are I'm not. But we'll have to wait until November to see.
Alright, I guess that's about it for now. Go away for a little while just to sleep.
Yeah, go a little.
So I want to thank you guys for having come out here to see us on a Saturday rather than on a Thursday. I really appreciate it, especially with us kind of being a bit last minute with it. So all things considered, thank you for being here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
We will be back on track next week live on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central. So to those of you who are in here live with us right now, we will do our normal thing where we stick around for an additional half an hour and give you guys Q&A time. And if you're not here with us live, thanks for watching on YouTube, but you really should be down with us live at our usual 9 p.m. Thursday time so that you can have a conversation with these kind folks over here and along with us, because otherwise that's just something you don't get to do. So
come on down. And of course during the week you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter I'm at JoshKnight1st.
And I'm at MarsGirl.
And that having been said, this has been our special weekend edition of Beyond the Black Rooms. We will see you guys next week at our regular time.
Thank you everybody, and here's another advertisement from Danny.
Take it away.
Danny is a young sci-fi writer living in the UK. Everything was going great until one day he was captured by a beautiful woman, terrifyingly hot. Her name is Morphine, and she'll make you scream. Get ready for your adrenaline shot, 'cause she locked him up in the basement. She tortures him day and night, whips and chains and moans and pain. She forces him to write amazing